On your feet! Get them going!
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever the case may be. Welcome to Cross Examinations Live, the Reconstruction Zone, reconstructing the faith of those who think that the atheists have good arguments. Yeah, boy, Los Angeles, huh? Los Angeles. So they're delivering bricks. Remember the bricks? Remember, not BRICS nations like that want to overpower the U.S. dollar. I remember last spontaneous civil unrest season, which was 4 years ago. Remember when they were burning the country down 4 years ago? Does anybody remember this? Just ringing any bells? Spontaneously, because of George Floyd and whatever other excuses they gave. And I'm sorry, I'm tidying up here. It's just I've got pens all over my desk from my work on whatnot. Do you guys recall the bricks? The bricks that were randomly and anonymously being delivered on pallets to all of the various areas where the troubles were happening. That was a thing. You recall? You recall? The bricks are back. I smile and I kind of laugh because boy, same playbook. Same playbook. I will have to assume same players, same people funding the same idiots going around. You know what? Let's do a real-time thing. Let's do a real-time thing. I haven't looked this up. I just saw it on I saw it on I'm gonna have to create a window here. I saw it. Present window, that's the one. On a short. So I cannot verify if this is real or not. So I'm going to verify if this is real or not right now. Craigslist.com. .org, sorry. No, I don't want San Diego. I want Los Angeles. Gosh dang. Come on, you computer. Los Angeles. Let's try something. My vision. My word. My vision is a mace. All right, jobs. Let's see. Where would this job? Gosh, dang it. All right. Accounting. I wouldn't be accounting. Arch. No. What is arch? Architecture, engineering, art, media, design, biotech science, business, custom service, education. Perhaps miscellaneous. General labor. Perhaps government, human resources, legal, paralegal, manufacturing. Security. Security? No. Gigs. Labor. Crew. Domestic. I'm not sure where I'd find this. Let's try crew. Producer, train AI, train AI. Wow, a lot of help train AI. On production designer, skincare study. If anybody else can search while I'm searching and maybe give me a link. Animators. Hey now. Meeting with Christopher Nolan. Wait, what? Wait, what? Oh, this is crew as in crew for Hollywood. Oh, that's interesting. Open casting indie film. Now I'm interested in going to Hollywood and being in movies. Free government phones. Okay. Let me search crew gigs. Maybe this was a bad idea because I forgot how Craigslist was so tough. I'm gonna look up the word tough. I think tough was in the ad. No image, type your tough touch now. I should have got the link to the ad. Not for sale, jobs. All right, so I'm gonna take this with a grain of salt. Although, I mean, it looked like a real freaking. It looked like real ad to me, and it would be in line with what they did last time. What happened? There we go. If anybody knows where it is, send me the link because I'd like to see it actually on Craigslist. But it was an ad for tough guys, people who knew how to fight, to show up at or to be hired for an event. I don't know. It was very interesting, but I don't have enough information, so sorry for wasting your time. That was the thing. Those unassuming flats showed up without construction being involved. Yeah, that was a thing. Yes, Matt Weldon, they were in his neighborhood. And he's like, yeah, there was no construction anywhere. But this time, yes, they're doing it again. The old pallets of bricks move. And then, gosh, I'm watching these videos of these protesters throwing bricks and chunks of concrete because there's like no rocks, I guess, in LA. So what they're doing is they're taking hammers and they're breaking apart concrete, like things that are made out of concrete, and they're just breaking them into sharp, heavy projectiles. They're making rocks out of concrete, basically what you're saying, and throwing them. Which, by the way, these are deadly objects. First murder was with a rock, and at police officers. Not even, like, oh my God, I'm sure my brother's gonna be like, Trump sent in the National Guard and wee poop. And I'm sure he'll, if we bother getting into this discussion, I'm sure he'll say that. Because I remember him saying something about that last time around. Like, he sent in the National Guard. I'm like, well, yeah, the Antifa was attacking a federal building. And your police weren't doing anything. He lives in Portland. But yeah, this is just the LAPD and ICE, federal and state authorities, and they're hucking rocks, which is attempted murder, right? Isn't throwing a rock with intent attempted murder? So, look, if you're trying to kill police officers and federal employees, ICE agents, I don't have any pity for any appropriate response. I don't know how to say that on YouTube. You don't do that. You can't. And also, and it's funny because I said this first before I heard anybody else say it, but then I started hearing other people saying it. I'm sure they didn't get it from me. It's just so obvious that people are repeating it because of how obvious. It's like, oh my gosh, the sky is blue today, right? If you are waving the flag of a foreign nation and trying to kill police officers of this nation and trying to burn down the cities of this nation, you are an enemy combatant of a foreign nation, or you're a traitor fighting for an enemy state. Is that might not be exactly right, because Mexico hasn't declared war on America. Mexico hasn't. And the funny thing is, most of the people being deported are not even Mexican. They're like South American and whatever else. But it's crazy. It's gonna get crazy. And my fear is there. I'm getting a lot of wind of them trying to pull something on June 14th, like a massive, like a George Floyd riots all over again, all over the country on June 14th. And I got to be on a plane on the 19th. I don't want this kind of crap going down on. I mean, this is not just about the whole country. This is about my personal travel plans. And by gum, I don't want to have my personal travel plans interrupted by a bunch of crazy people thinking they can overthrow an election because the president has decided to enforce the stinking law. So, I don't know. Kind of that's where I'm at on this thing. I'm really I don't know. What do you guys think about what's going on with all of this nonsense? Hail, Justin the Rhino. Welcome. Animators and Nolan, what now? Wait, what? What are you talking about, Missy? What you talking about, Missy? Where is everybody today? Is it? Have you guys gotten so used to me not doing this on Mondays that I show up on a Monday and you're like, oh, wait a minute, mic's on. Hello, Nick. Welcome. What is that? I can't tell what your PFP is. It's funny because on the screen I'm like looking right at your PFP. Yeah, that's, I don't know. That's just what's been on my newsfeed, and the rioting and the looting and the burning of the cars. It's just deja vu, right? It's deja vu. It's all in the bricks. I mean, except that they were waving Black Lives Matters flags last time. They're waving the Mexican flag this time. Oh, I also heard a shocking statistic, and I don't know how much I believe it, but it came from a left-wing media source. They said that there are 10 million illegals in California. That would be 20% of our population. And that a third of them are in Los Angeles County. That would be 3.3 million illegals in Los Angeles County. That's 30% of Los Angeles is illegals. That can't be right. I don't know what the motivation would be for a liberal news outlet to lie about that, but that just seems highly improbable, doesn't it? A third of Los Angeles County is illegal immigrants? That can't be true. I wonder where they got that statistic. Or maybe they flubbed. Maybe they were trying to say immigrants. But even then, a third of Los Angeles is immigrants? 1 out of 5. I could believe look, if you're talking about Mexicans, like Mexican people of Mexican descent, I could believe that. But that's not what they said. But I could believe that. That sounds much more practicable. That a third of Los Angeles is Mexicans. I think, like, I don't know. It's got to be a third Mexican in San Diego, but a third illegals? No, no. I just can't. I can't go. I can't go with you there. Am I like super potato? Because I'm getting that connection bad icon on my screen. Hang on, I'll pass links. Oh, I already posted the link to the Discord. And so did King Bob. By the way, hi, Missy and King Bob and Nick and Justin. And again, yeah, not everybody's. Are you like way behind? They're trying to. Trying to what, Chuck? I feel like. Are you guys like super way behind? Anything new for the Blacklist universe? I've been sidetracked recently, trying to catch up on stuff with Whatnot. So I'm doing some Whatnot stuff. I'm about 80 pages in on the next graphic novel for Blacklist Universe, which is called Nobody's Business. But I stopped working on that about a month and a half ago. I'll get back to it when I have the time, but right now I'm just trying to make some extra moolah. Last year really hit me in the pocketbook. 2 weddings to help pay for, and some other stuff that happened. So I'm trying to get back on the financial track. They're trying to muddy the waters, if nothing more. With what? I'm sorry, I don't know. My brain is mush. Maybe I shouldn't do shows on Monday. Whoa. See, I feel like Melissa, I feel like you're like way behind on the chat or something. Hey, Tanner's here. All right. Are you guys watching live, or are you like 10 minutes behind? The number of illegals that they're tossing out there. Oh, yeah, trying to mishmash Mexicans and illegals. Trying to that makes sense actually, because they're always trying to. Yeah, I heard on CNN the other night. I wasn't watching CNN. I was watching clips of CNN, and one of the guys on there called them undocumented citizens. I'm like, what? Maybe the numbers are fudged to discourage conservatives from trying to affect reforms. Possibly. Justin asks, Mike, when did young Earth creationism become a thing? 6,000 years ago. The old Earth argument only became a thing after evolution became adopted, and then the more and more they realized that there wasn't enough time for natural selection to create the biodiversity that we have. They just made the Earth older and older to give the magic pixie dust of time an argument, reason enough, time enough for evolution, which there still isn't enough time. They're just it's an impractical. You just do the math, it's ridiculous. I still have your Lone Star, Heart of the Hero, and Soul of the Soldier sealed with your autograph. Have you not read them? They're for reading. I mean, the stories. It's the story is the important part, you know. I mean, the doctrine. I mean, I don't remember what. I think it might have been Nachmanides did the math in the 1200s on how young the Earth should be. Give me a second. Give me 2 shakes. 2 shakes. I did. I purchased. Oh, cool. How'd you like the story? You're gonna love the last chapter. I really, if you want to read the last chapter, I'll send you the digital copy just so you can read it, because I haven't gotten it printed yet. I know I so want to get it printed, but just like I said, Life doesn't always go the way you want it to. Who first dated the age of the Earth using the biblical timeline of genealogies? Let's see who did this. James Ussher in 1650. Annals of the World, published 1650. Ussher meticulously traced the genealogies in the Bible, particularly those in the book of Genesis, to calculate the earth was created in 4004 BC, specifically on October 23rd. His chronology was based on the assumption that the biblical accounts provided a complete and literal timeline of human history. So this says 1650, but I think, how old did the ancient Hebrews believe the earth was? Someone's on the last chapter of something. Am I caught up? Wait, what? Gosh, I can't freaking read this. My eyes are just a mess. Hold on, let me bring it onto the screen. I don't know what's up with my eyes this early in the day. Based on the genealogies in the Hebrew Bible Masoretic text, which provide ages of patriarchs at the birth of their heirs, later Jewish and Christian scholars estimate the Earth's age. For example, Masoretic text suggests a timeline of roughly 1,656 years from the creation of Adam to the flood, with the additional time from the flood to Adam. By adding these periods, some traditional Jewish calculations, such as those reflected in the Jewish calendar, estimate creation occurring around 3761 before Christ, as of 2025 Christian AD. This would make the Earth approximately 5,786 years old, since the Jewish calendar. However, ancient Hebrews likely focused more on the theological and narrative significance of creation and history rather than a precise chronological age. The concept of calculating an exact age of the earth emerged more prominently in later rabbinic and Christian traditions, particularly from the Second Temple period, 516 to 70 BC. Christian era. So AD. Onward, when scholars began systematizing biblical chronologies, for examples, in the 2nd century, a Jewish chronological work attempted to align the biblical events into a timeline, creating creation to a similar time period as the Jewish calendar. So, yeah, it's been around. Young Earth creationism, as just people just believe the Earth was only 6,000 years old, has been around for millennia. As far as I'm aware, early church fathers were old Earth creationists, but they didn't have much thought on it due to the lack of necessity of the doctrines because they believed God caused it. Based on what? Modern young Earth creationism was produced by Seventh-day Adventists. I don't believe that's the case. Seventh-day Adventism didn't come up in, or was in the 1900s, wasn't it? So even using the latest dating, that's 1650. That's that you still got hundreds of years before. Was it not? Was it 1800s? Seventh-day Adventist. That's modern. Well, I mean, I'm just saying your Seventh-day Adventist argument is false because even the most recent guy who published a book on it in 1650, that's still hundreds of years before that. Talking about what is taught in churches now. Well, what's taught in churches now is the Bible. It's just aligning what the Bible says with what the evidence reveals. And do you have any argument, or do you have any evidence that the early church fathers were old Earth creationists? I mean, you're coming up with this from somewhere. Obviously, your Seventh-day Adventist argument was just patently false. So, where are you getting the early church fathers argument? Da, da, da. Someone's on the last chapter of something. Am I caught up? Someone's on the last chapter. Let's measure. Yeah, sorry, I'm waiting. I'm interested in this conversation now. How old is the Seventh-day Advent Church? Yeah, I think it was like the late 18th to early 1900s. 1863. 1863. So yeah, you've got 200 years before that. Home Slice did the James Usher, an archbishop, published the genealogies. But again, long before that, thousands of years before that, the Jews dated the beginning of the earth to 3761, the creation of the earth to 3761 before Christ. So thousands of years. The young earth creationism is thousands of years old. I don't understand what you're exactly. That's the answer to your question. Young earth creationism is thousands of years old. It's as old as the Bible, and in point of fact, it's as old as the earth. So, where are you getting your information that early church fathers believed in millions of years, or whatever you think old earth creationism entails? Hello, Andrew. How you been, mate? Joe, welcome. Zeta says, I am many minutes behind. Well, catch up. Just zoom on up to real time here. And we'll get people going. I'm waiting for all the atheists to roll in here and give me their arguments. No, but I was talking about the LA riots earlier, because many early church fathers believed also that the earth is flat. Do you have... I honestly, I have not read the early church fathers' works in total. I've read some of it, but I have not read, like, I don't treat it like the New Testament, right? Early church fathers. I read the Bible. But that obviously wouldn't be doctrine. I just can't. I can't. I know that there's some stuff with the flat Earth argument that makes you go, but there's just geometric realities to the Earth that I can't go with the flat Earth thing. Sorry. The 7 days of creation account is unanimous, but I'm referring to the literal ages versus symbolic ages and cultural context being left out because pastors don't teach ancient cultural context. I still don't get what your argument is. Also, I'd like to know, I would like you to defend, or not defend, but because you said early church fathers were old earth creationists. I would like some evidence of that claim. Andrew says, did you know that it was 379 years between the time of the printing press, invented in 1455, to the time the first comic strip was printed? Wow. Slackers. Can you imagine not making comics your first priority when you invent the printing press? Old Earth creationism and young Earth creationism both believe in the early creationism story, just that the details are a bit different. Are you talking about the day-age theory? I used to believe the day-age theory, but that was... I realized that the evidence was just against it. So, I mean, Mike, the Jews were not exactly the pinnacle of science and knowledge, lol. Well, no, but they they had the word of God delivered by the prophets who spoke for God. So I think, as a matter of truth, um, that's just a little more trustworthy than the opinions of scientists. Opinions, right? You can't be like, it's a fact that the Earth is 4 billion years old. It's like, oh, really? Were you there? No, we have dating methods that say that. Well, so you have dating methods that assume that decay has been a constant throughout all time space. Well, yes. Well, what if decay has not been a constant throughout all time space? Can you know if decay was faster in the past? Light seems to have been faster in the past. We can't guarantee that's true, but the measurements we've taken over the centuries indicate, not with absolute certainty, but they indicate that light is slowing down. So if light is slowing down, which would actually work with the laws of physics and entropy and the second law of thermodynamics and all that fun stuff, that everything is winding down. So if light was winding down, why couldn't decay be winding down? Your calculations require the assumption that decay rates have been a constant throughout time space. You cannot know that for a fact. So you cannot claim that for a fact. Opinions that the Earth is round and revolves around the sun. Huh? Are you talking about the Jews? Are you asking me what my opinion is? Yes, I believe the Earth is round. I believe the Earth is a globe. And I don't say that. Look, if people out there want to believe in flat Earth, do your thing. I heard people they're very earnest in their belief. Stuff that just doesn't add up, that just works on a globe, that doesn't work. I could be wrong. Look, I'm not claiming absolute knowledge. I've never been to space, so I don't think we landed on the moon, but that's a different argument. The best I can offer with limited word counts is the video series by Inspiring Philosophy called Genesis 1 to 11 series. Well, obviously I can't go watch that right now. I don't have much of a dog in this fight, as I'm agnostic on the topic since it isn't relevant to the resurrection. Well, I mean, I can ask Rock. Let's do that. Did the early church fathers in their writings ever talk about the age of the earth? Yes, several early church fathers discussed the age of the earth in their writings, often deriving their estimates from the genealogies in the Bible, particularly the book of Genesis. Their calculations were based on the literal interpretation of the scriptural timelines. Similarly to later efforts by scholars like James Ussher, however, their focus was typically more theological, emphasizing God's creation and the history of salvation than scientific. Below are the key examples of the church fathers who addressed the age of the earth along with their approaches. Theophilus of Antioch, 2nd century, his work Autolycus, Book 2, circa 180 CE. Theophilus provided one of the earliest known attempts to calculate the Earth's age based on biblical genealogies. Using the Septuagint, he estimated that the world was created around 5529 BC. All right. Julius Africanus, his Chronographia Africanus constructed a detailed biblical timeline, also relying on the Septuagint. He calculated that the creation occurred around 5500 BC. Hippolytus of Rome, in his Chronicon and commentaries, Hippolytus estimated the Earth's creation at around 5500 BC. Lactantius Lactantius? Bro, your parents did you wrong. In his Divine Institutes, Lactantius suggested that the world was less than 6,000 years old. Augustine of Hippo, in The City of God and on the literal interpretation of Genesis, was more cautious about precise calculations. While he accepted the biblical genealogies as historical, he emphasized that the days of creation might not be literal 24-hour periods and warned against overly rigid chronologies. He generally endorsed the idea that the earth was less than 6,000 years old based on the Septuagint. Eusebius of Caesarea, in his Chronicle, Eusebius developed a timeline of world history, placing the creation around 5200 BC based on the Septuagint. His work was influential in later Christian and Byzantine chronologies. So I don't know where you got your information, Justin, but all of the early church fathers believe the earth was roughly 5,500 years old. So whoever you're getting your information from is wrong. You believe in the moon? Crazy conspiracy peeps. I do believe there is something up there. Yes, I do believe there is a moon up there. What do you think of the Messianic age and the law? What do you consider the Messianic age? You mean now? Is that what's... I'm not a theologian, so you might be using terminology that I'm not 100% in agreement on. Amy's home. Well, Mike, you believe it. Science has proven it. The goat herders in that backward didn't. That's what I'm saying. What? That the earth is round? Well, I'm sorry, can you give me somebody that you're claiming or something? Mike! Larry! Right. Leave science to the Eratosthenes. I don't know what that is. He's just roasting the guy. I'm not roasting him. I'm just saying that, look, sometimes we just believe stuff because we were told it, but we didn't check sources. And so, I mean, look at that ridiculous Zeitgeist movie. Zeitgeist had my nephew believing a whole bunch of just made up bull crap. Even I think what's his face used to come in here and he would be using Zeitgeist arguments, and it's like, they just made that crap up, guys. And yet, because it's on the internet, people believe it. Check sources. Check the, Andrew says, second correction. The earliest known comic strip was The Adventures of Obadiah Oldbuck, which was published in 1837. The American version was printed in New York in 1838. Lovely. What about the issue of Ex Nihilo? Even with infinites before the Big Bang, only pushes the question back. I don't understand the question, because I do believe in Ex Nihilo. God created time and space. What I don't and cannot, and no one can comprehend, is what eternity is outside of time and space. If there's no time space in eternity, I can't. We are only capable of conceiving things that are bound by time space. How about hollow moon theory? I will tell you something. I have a friend who's a doctorate and all that fun stuff. His wife is a PhD in is it physics? She actually works at NASA, and they both believe in the hollow moon. Neither of them. They're like, the math doesn't work. The moon cannot be as big as they say it is and be made of rock and be in stationary orbit. It's just too close. I think they said it was too close to be at that scale and be where it is in the sky. They also believe we did land on the moon, so I disagree with them, but whatever. And they believe that when the things, fell off the lander, there was a what do they call those things that measure vibrations on a planet? Tectometer, something like that. And that when things fell off the spacecraft when it was exiting, it hit the moon, and the moon rang for 3 hours. Like the first time it rang for half an hour, second time it rang for 3 hours, and only hollow things ring. So, I mean, this lady is a PhD in physics and works at NASA. I'm not going to say what her name is because somebody at NASA might be like, hey, wait a minute. And she believes hollow moon theory. So, I don't freaking know. Mike knows 2 infallible sources: the Bible and Grok. Well, Grok is like the way better version of doing a Google search. It just concisely, it does all the Google searching for you and then tells you what the Google searches say. If I want to get, like, give me the sources for this, it would tell me where to go. So, the moon is clearly made of cheese. Let's go to the moon, Gromit. Yes, Mike, they didn't believe that the Earth is round. Who is they, and where? Who should I be looking up to say who they is? I would recommend Genesis 1 through 11 series in your own time, as it's fascinating and uses sources. Okay, I am definitely young Earth. Same here. Mike, how do I stop my hair from going gray? Well, having a mother. Actually, my dad's hair was like almost all gray, very, very gray. So maybe that doesn't. Well, I got my mom's genes, but also I've been reversing some gray hair on the carnivore diet, like legit. Like, you know how your hair, you can tell how long it's been gray. Well, I don't know, if you have long hair, you can tell these things. But it's like it'll be like brown on the end, and then like, you grow about 6 inches a year, right? So it's like if you have like 6 inches of gray, you know that hair's been gray for that long. I've got hairs that are gray at the end, and then brown when they get closer to my skin. So they're being generated. Carnivore, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna say? I'm de-aging. Zeitgeist was interesting. If you love baloney. I know, right? Be Oriental. That's I mean, it's a fair cop. Although my mom's friend here, her hair is she's Oriental. She's Japanese. Her hair is all white. Just a big bouffant of white hair. Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of Earth with amazing accuracy in the 5th century BC. Meanwhile, in Israel, they weren't concerned with the circumference of the Earth. I thought everyone who worked at NASA was gay. Damn it, Larry. No, actually, I know 3 people who have and do work at NASA. I know 2 people who work there currently, and then 1 person who used to work there. All of them straight. That's no moon. El Christoid. I don't know what that means, but hello. Haru raha. Seismometer. Okay, sorry. Grok can't make me an image with a Gambison under chainmail. I don't like Grok's image generator. I will be honest with you. It is no bueno. All right, let's do another one. Did the early church fathers ever talk about the shape of the earth, as in globe versus flat? Clement of Alexandria, 150 to 215, in his Stromata, Clement showed familiarity with Greek cosmological ideas, including the spherical Earth model proposed by philosophers like Aristotle. While he did not explicitly argue for a globe, his references to astronomy and the cosmos suggested he accepted the spherical view common in educated Hellenistic circles. Origen, highly allegorical interpreter of scripture, engaged with Greek philosophy and science. I'm going to move this over here so I can read it better. In his works on first principles, he discussed the heavens and celestial bodies in ways that align with a spherical cosmology. Though he did not directly address the Earth's shape, his openness to secular knowledge suggests he likely accepted the spherical model. Basil of Caesarea, in his Hexameron, a series of homilies on the 6 days of creation, Basil avoided definitive statements about the Earth's shape, but described the heavens as spherical and the Earth as suspended in space. His language implies he was comfortable with the spherical Earth model, which was standard in Greek astronomy by his time. Ambrose of Milan, Ambrose in his own Hexameron, echoed Basil and described the Earth as a sphere in some passages, influenced by both scripture and classical learning. He referred to the Earth as balanced and central in the cosmos, consistent with Ptolemaic cosmology, which assumed a spherical Earth. Augustine of Hippo. Augustine's views were nuanced, but leaned toward a spherical Earth. In The City of God and on the literal interpretation of Genesis, he acknowledged Greek astronomical theories and did not reject the idea of a spherical Earth. He noted that Scripture's silence on scientific details allowed for compatibility with secular knowledge. However, he emphasized that such matters were secondary to theological truths. Augustine also dismissed the idea of antipods, people living on the opposite side of a globe, as implausible, not because he denied a sphere, but due to geographical and theological concerns about human unity post-flood. Church fathers who implied a flat or ambiguous earth, Lactantius, is one of the few church fathers who explicitly argued against a spherical earth. In his Divine Institutes, he mocked the idea of a globe, particularly the notion of antipods, as absurd, arguing that people could not live upside down. His view was likely influenced by a literal reading of biblical descriptions, i.e., the earth has a foundation or spread out, and a rejection of pagan philosophy. His stand was an outlier, as most educated Christians of his time leaned toward the spherical model. Cosmas Indicopleustus. 6th century, taught, though later than the early church fathers, Cosmos, funny name, right? Cosmos. A Christian monk, is often cited in flat earth discussions. In his Christian Topography, 550 AD, he argued for a flat, rectangular earth covered by a vaulted heaven, modeled on the biblical tabernacle. He explicitly rejected the spherical earth of Greek cosmology, which he was probably named after, viewing it as pagan. However, Cosmos was not a church father, and his views were not widely accepted, even in his time. Tertullian, this is 155 to 240 AD, did not directly address the Earth's shape, but his writings, such as Against Marcion, use language suggesting a flat or spread out Earth consistent with biblical imagery, the Earth having ends or a foundation. His focus was theological, and he showed little interest in cosmological debates, making his stance ambiguous. John Chrysostom, Chrysostom. This is 347 to 407, so likely around, yeah. Chrysostom's homilies on Genesis describe the earth in terms of drawn from scripture, such as a foundation or a surface spread out under the heavens. He did not explicitly advocate a flat earth, but his literal exegesis and lack of engagement with Greek astronomy suggest he may have assumed a non-spherical model or simply not prioritized the question. So, who was it arguing? Cosmos meaning world, wordly. Cosmos meaning world. Worldly. Wordly or worldly? Worldly? The church being against science is a myth. Yes. No, science is the discovery and trying to understand God's creation and how things work, how God's creation works. I don't know why Israel or the early church would care either way, since it isn't required for belief in the Messiah, Christ. Well, because ultimately, yeah, that's the only real, true, important question. However, we don't live in a vacuum where only it's the only issue, right? Mike, when God said, "I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you," when he was speaking to Abraham, did he mean that other nations have to agree with everything Israel does? No. No, you don't have to agree with everything Israel does. I don't agree with everything Israel does, but in a war between Israel and the surrounding genocidal from the river to the sea nations around them, I'll take Israel's side. Does this mean that we have to agree with Israel in order to be viewed as blessing them? No. No, but being anti-Israel is definitely not blessing them. The Jews also had a lot of interactions with the Egyptians, who I think proved it was round with sticks and shadows by that time. Well, here's the sticks and shadows argument works both ways. That's the thing. It's like you have to look at the arguments with an open mind. I know it's hard to do because we're all raised taught. Well, here's the thing: we're all taught that the globe is real. We're also all taught that the evolution is real. Evolution is not real, but the globe is real. But you have to be able to discern what arguments work on both a globe and a flat Earth. The sticks argument works on a globe and it works on a flat Earth. The sticks and shadows thing, because the sun is so far away that if you do the sticks thing on a curved Earth, the rays from the sun are essentially parallel when they're coming from the Earth. However, on a flat Earth, the same argument can be made because what all you're doing is if the sticks are straight, you're just bringing the sun closer. That's it's perspective. I learned perspective in third grade, so it's it's like that argument just works on both. You have to go to arguments that don't work on both, like the one that kind of is just like the obvious flat earthers can't really argue that is the freaking stars. The stars go one way. Okay, this is where I'm like I have the questions on both sides. The stars go clockwise in the north, and they go counterclockwise in the south, and they go over your head on the equator. That completely works on a globe. That doesn't work on a flat Earth model, or at least I haven't found any arguments that make it work, because it seems kind of crazy that it would. However, the fact that Polaris is always north of us and has always been north of us, I don't understand that. If everything in the universe is always moving at enormous speeds, if you do all the math, the Earth is flying through space at roughly 1/24th the speed of light. That's if you do all the math calculations together with like how fast we're going around the Milky Way, how fast the Milky Way is going around the center of the universe. You add all that up. We're moving at 1/24th the speed of light, which doesn't seem possible to me, but I'll just take that calculation as is. If it is the case, and thus the rest of the universe is also moving at incredible speeds, how's Polaris always the North Star? That one to me doesn't calculate either. So I'm a glober. Sorry, flurfers. I'm a glober, but I still think stuff doesn't add up in the accepted totality of the cosmological model. I'll say it that way. I don't like. Is the freaking moon hollow? My NASA PhD physicist friend seems to think it is. I think she knows more than I do. So I don't know. Well, it matters when you interpret everything in the Bible literally. Dang it, I didn't know you were live. I'm sorry, Tina. Yes, I did. Come on, live. Literally as in literally true versus literally as in taking every word in a literal meaning, because there is poetry, there is hyperbole, there is metaphor, there are, so I do take it all literally true, but I don't take every word as literally literal. I see the war as Pharisees versus Philistines. Polaris is on the axis of rotation, and it hasn't always pointed to it. When has the axis of rotation not pointed to Polaris in human history? Has Polaris ever not been the North Star in recorded history? Recorded history. And written by man. Oh, 3000 BC. The celestial North Pole was near Thuban in the constellation Draco, which served as the North Star. Thuban was closest to the pole around 2800 BC. Is this written? Early Mesopotamian and Egyptian astronomers likely used Thuban. No single star was precisely North Star. Still no prominent North Star. The pole was in a gap between bright stars. Kochab and other faint stars used Ursa Minor. Ah, all right. Well, fair enough. There's another notch on the belt for globe Earth. Yeah, the North Star, at least in the 1st century Roman era, Polaris was close enough to the celestial North Pole within 10 degrees to become noticeable as a reliable northern marker. Greek astronomers like Hipparchus and Ptolemy noted Polaris as Phoenix as part of the Little Bear as a key star in the north in their star catalogs. Written records from this period confirm Polaris was increasingly used as a North Star though it was less precise than today. Interesting. All right, so it's moving. Another notch on the globe Earth. All right. You should look into the Earth's precessional cycle. I've never even heard that phrase before. I guess it's possible we don't perfectly understand all the workings of the universe yet. Well, yeah. That's what cracks me up is people who think we do. It's like we're a speck of dust. We are microbes on a speck of dust floating in an impossibly large sea. And people from this perspective think, oh, we know everything about the universe. It's like, there is so much we don't know about the universe. It could fill a universe. The irony is that modern Palestinians, to a great degree, are Islamicized Jews, while man of the Jews are Khazars who converted to Judaism. That's why they're mainly from Ukraine and Poland. Well, there are Sephardic. Look, the weird thing about Jews today is by the way, they're not the Palestinians aren't Islamicized Jews. They're cousins of their descendants of others in the Middle East. They're cousins of the Jews, most likely, but Israel today is like, it's kind of like America. It's like weird. It's like because of the diaspora, Jews went all over the place. They went to Europe, they went to Africa, they went to Asia, and then they came back. And you have Ashkenazi Jews, which are the ones that went north, and they ended up in Russia and in Poland and in Germany and all those places all over Europe. And those are Ashkenazi Jews. My wife is an Ashkenazi Jew. And they interbred with the local population. So you had Jews that went to Asia and they interbred with the local population. And you had Jews that went to Africa and they interbred with the local population. That is not to say they are no longer Jews. They're not converts. They're diluted. But look, you have the same thing with the Sephardic Jews. You think all the Sephardic Jews only intermarried with other Jews? Or do you think they intermarried with Arabs? Do you think they intermarried with other people in the Middle East? So they maintained that Middle Eastern look, right? But they're probably just as diluted genetically from Israel, Jacob, Israel. They're probably just as diluted as any Ashkenazi or any black or any Asian Jew who emigrated back to Israel. So, Islamicized Jews? No, I don't think so. Wouldn't it be better if we had a Bible that didn't have so many plot holes and contradictions and immoral stuff? There is no such thing. There's no plot holes, there's no contradictions, and there's no immoral stuff. Sorry. The Jews of Spain were part of the diaspora. These blonde, blue-eyed ones, not so much. Joe, that's just wrong. You intermarrying, you still have Jewish lineage. The Jews are saying. Why? Because you're saying that because the Jews of Spain were darker because people in Spain were darker. Probably because there were so many damn Muslims that came. For 400 years they were raping Spain. So what do you want to do? It's like in Horton Hears a Who, the mayor of Whoville asked the town scientist, if we were a tiny fleck floating through space, how would we know? I expect her to say we are a tiny speck floating through space. But that would be as dramatic. All right. Anyways, we're well over the hour. Sorry, man, we have not been getting the Bible at all, but it's been fun. It's been good. If you guys have any other questions or comments, jump into the Discord and we can continue this. No, Mike, they did not intermarried as a rule, and those who did just stopped following Jewish customs and religion. Well, as a rule, it's the same rule as the Jews that went to Europe, Asia, and Africa. As a rule, Jews only marry Jews. But over 2,000 years, the rule gets broken enough times that the genes intermingle, right? That's just reality. You know, even, I mean, you can say it's, I hate to say it this way, but even in Europe, you know the stereotype, right? Why does that guy look like a Jew? Because he looks like a Jew. He look like a Jew. You cannot look like a Jew if the Jews do not have a genetic stereotypical look, right? All right. Those don't identify as Jews anymore. Like that. I don't quite grasp what you're saying, Joe, but I don't have time for it. Stuff to do, people to see. It is a Monday, so thanks everybody for being here. God bless you all. We'll see you on the Discord, or we'll see you in the next exciting episode of Crumpling Out Plastic while I'm trying to do my outro. God bless you all. We'll see you next time. Bye.